Canada has long been viewed as a global symbol of multicultural success, opportunity, and stability. But today, the country is facing an unprecedented shift. As housing shortages intensify, public services struggle to keep up, and public opinion turns increasingly skeptical. Canada's immigration system is undergoing one of the biggest transformations in decades. In 2025, sweeping new rules and drastic cuts to immigration levels could force millions of temporary residents, and even long-time immigrants, out of the country. This video breaks down the new policies, why they were introduced, and how they could reshape Canada's future. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get started. Number 1. A new era of Canadian immigration. For years, Canada's immigration system was praised for its openness and its contribution to economic growth. After the pandemic, the government dramatically increased immigration targets to fix labor shortages and restart the economy. But rapid population growth created unintended consequences: soaring housing prices, overcrowded public services, and growing public pressure for change. Recent polls show that many Canadians now believe that immigration levels are out of control. In response, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau unveiled a new 2025 to 2027 immigration plan that sharply reduces both permanent and temporary immigration. Supporters call it a sustainable reset. Critics say it will shut out hundreds of thousands who already built their lives in Canada, and push many to leave. Number 2. Major cuts to permanent resident targets. One of the most dramatic changes is the reduction in permanent resident admissions. Previous targets aimed as high as 500,000 per year. But the new plan lowers these numbers to 395,000 in 2025. That's a 21% cut from the previous plan. Trudeau acknowledged, "In the tumultuous times after the pandemic, we didn't get the balance right. These cuts aim to ease pressure on housing and healthcare." But they also leave many temporary residents, who expected a pathway to PR, with far fewer opportunities. Number 3. Crackdown on temporary residents. The biggest impact will be on temporary residents, including international students. Temporary foreign workers. Those on visitor and work permits. People in the International Mobility Program. Canada plans to reduce the temporary resident share of the population from 7% to 5% by 2026. Projected arrivals drop from 673,650 in 2025 right-pointing arrow 516,600 in 2026. This means many temporary residents will have to transition to permanent residency quickly, or leave Canada when their permits expire. Work permits under the International Mobility Program will fall dramatically, from 285,750 in 2025 to just 128,700 in 2026. International students will face even bigger obstacles due to caps and stricter eligibility rules. Number 4. Express entry overhaul. Job offer points removed. A huge change is coming to express entry. Starting spring 2025, candidates will no longer receive extra points for a job offer. Previously, a valid job offer provided 50 to 200 CRS points, often enough to secure an invitation to apply. The government says removing job offer points prevents fraud and manipulation of LMIA job offers. But critics argue this will harm temporary residents already working in Canada. Newcomers without high CRS scores. Individuals who relied on job offers as their main pathway to PR. Many could now find themselves with no path to stay in Canada. Number 5. Major reforms to the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. The TFWP is being tightened to combat exploitation, especially in low-wage jobs. Key changes include work permits reduced to 1 year instead of 2. Stricter employer eligibility. Additional restrictions in regions with unemployment above 6%. Trudeau criticized companies for exploiting cheap foreign labor, but these reforms also mean many temporary workers will have no chance to transition to PR. Once their contract ends, they may have no option but to leave. Number 6. Much stricter rules for international students. International students, once seen as a backbone of immigration, now face significant new barriers: a national cap on study permits, reductions from over 500,000 approvals to around 437,000 in 2025, removal of fast-track programs like the Student Direct Stream (SDS), much tougher rules for TFWP eligibility, border officers empowered to cancel visas on arrival for minor violations. Students who work off campus beyond permitted hours or fall behind on enrollment requirements now risk losing their status entirely. Many fear being forced to leave after years of investment. Number 7. The political and economic forces behind the reforms. These changes come during intense political pressure. Trudeau faces criticism for high immigration during the housing crisis. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre accuses him of destroying the system. Poilievre proposes tying immigration levels directly to housing construction. Economists warn that lower immigration could ease short-term housing pressure, but slow long-term GDP growth, worsen labor shortages, weaken Canada's economic competitiveness. Canada has the oldest population in its history, and immigrants are its main source of new workers. Cutting immigration may solve one problem, but could create many others. Number 8. Forcing millions to leave. What does it really mean? This does not mean mass deportation. Instead, it means temporary residents who fail to secure PR will have no option to stay. Visa cancellations at the border will increase. Fewer in Canada pathways will be available. Millions may simply time out of the system and must leave when permits expire. Many individuals who studied, worked, paid taxes, and built lives in Canada may suddenly find that staying is no longer possible. Migrant advocates warn of a growing, disposable workforce. Number 9. Reactions across Canada. Migrant rights groups. They argue the changes are unfair and harmful. They say the cuts will leave temporary residents trapped in low-wage jobs, vulnerable to exploitation, unable to gain PR at risk of becoming undocumented. Businesses and economists. They warn that labor shortages will worsen, especially in healthcare, construction, agriculture, tech, skilled trades. Companies fear difficulty hiring will reduce investment and slow economic growth. Political landscape. The reforms have fueled intense political debate that may shape the next federal election. Number 10. Long-term impact. What's next for Canada? Canada's new rules mark a drastic shift toward lower immigration and tighter controls. Potential outcomes include benefits: less pressure on housing, better allocation of public services, more controlled population growth. Risks: slower economic growth, talent leaving Canada, more temporary residents forced to depart, increased political polarization. Canada must balance short-term public concerns with long-term economic sustainability. Number 11. Looking ahead. What should temporary residents know? For millions living in Canada on temporary permits, the future is uncertain. Pathways to PR are narrowing. Rules are stricter. Competition is increasing. Even small mistakes can cost legal status. Employers will struggle to fill gaps, and policymakers will face rising pressure from all sides. Some experts believe the system can become more sustainable, but only if Canada invests heavily in housing, healthcare, and infrastructure. Conclusion. Canada's new immigration rules for 2025 represent one of the most significant shifts in recent history. With deep cuts to permanent resident admissions and strict limits on temporary residents, the government hopes to reduce pressure on housing and public services. But these changes come at a human cost. For many who have lived, worked, and studied in Canada, the path to permanent residency is shrinking, and thousands, possibly millions, may ultimately have to leave. Whether these reforms will fix the system or create new challenges remains to be seen. If you found this video informative, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for more updates on travel and immigration.